Hello.
Hello and welcome to the stream. How are you doing this evening?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Yeah, doing fine. I'm sorry to hear that you're fighting a bit of a cold presently.
Yeah, hopefully it's not too much. Hopefully it is just a cold and not anything else. I heard there's a virus going around these days, but
Mm, yeah, we'll
uh,
have to keep an eye out on that one.
yeah, we'll see though. But so far so good. Feels all right. So hopefully it doesn't get worse tomorrow.
Yeah. All right. So did you want to just start in with trying the two-player mode of the game out? How did you want to
I would recommend you playing through the game just normally, I guess, to start.
all
And
right.
then we can jump into, if there's time or if you want to, we can jump into some multiplayer. But um, yeah,
Yeah, I was gonna say I think it would be a little ill-advised for me to just jump straight into the multiplayer
yeah,
because
absolutely. And I don't know if you want to share. Are you able to share your screen in Discord just so I can maybe see the game with
in
no?
real time,
Yeah.
I should be able to. We're gonna see if this breaks anything, but
If not, it's okay. It's
here
just
we go.
it can be nice.
Yeah, we're gonna reduce. All right. If I start dropping frames, I will kill
Yeah, no
the stream
problem.
share. All
Or I
right.
guess have to let us know.
Okay, creating save data, enter initials. Sure. Ah, I know how to alphabet. Gab. All right. So we're gonna start out with solo. Do we have a full screen? Yeah, we do. Wait,
There is there's a settings menu, and I'd also recommend maybe doing the tutorial first, unless you want to just go in blind. That's okay too.
wait. Oh, yeah, Gab. Okay, there we go. And then settings and I'm assuming graphics and ooh man, the everything about the UI is so nice and polished, like the nice smooth animations on everything. However, it seems like I can't full screen. Oh, never
Well,
mind, I can. Okay.
it's putting you into that input, and then you
I
select it.
see,
It's
I
not a
see.
toggle.
Okay. Screen shake. We are taking that way the heck down.
Fair. And to be fair, I don't think I abuse screen shake, but
Okay, good to know. Um
now,
sorry,
unlike my other
excavator.
game, you
Yeah.
can actually change any gamepad settings you want in here. This should
Ooh,
actually all work. Should.
gotcha.
And it supports keyboard or controller interchangeably as well.
Which would you yeah, let me try that again. Which would you recommend?
I almost always prefer controller.
Okay, cool. Well, Excavator is asking if this is going to be added to Community Game Night, but it is not. This is not a publicly accessible build. I get to try this just special for the sake of the interview here.
And we can maybe make. I don't know too much about what community game night is, so maybe we could swing something. But yeah, typically this is a private build right now, but not like I'm not super. That's fine. We'll discuss later.
Sure. Um, actually, okay, I see a sad face from Ludamad, so I'm gonna bump Screen Shake up to just 25%. There we go. Still get a
Right.
little
Are
juice.
you are you typically adverse? Well, I guess you're typically adverse to screen shake.
Yeah, it has
Curious
not
about
treated
that.
me well. So
Okay, fair enough.
I yeah, I get motion sick from a lot of games.
Yeah,
You'll notice that like Worlds Within World has a completely static camera, and most other stuff that I do is the same. Just yeah, it gets me real bad. So
that's fair. I don't know if you remember my when I did the 10MG stream. One of the games in that collection had a lot of camera tilt and stuff, and
yeah,
it gave me that was one of the times I'm like, oh, I'm getting sick playing this. Fun game, but a bit too juicy for me. So yeah, there's a tutorial, or you can jump in live. It's completely your choice.
oh, I see. Right, because the tutorial is actually accessed from the start screen. I'll go ahead and select that. Um, Shell Shock had lots of screen shake and didn't comment on it. You know, it's weird. Like it, I don't know. Like sometimes I can just power through it. I figured this one I'm going to be playing for a little while. So, um, all right. So this is nice and easy. We just move back and forth. Let's get some stars. Aw, Agnes is so cute. I love the sprite work. And this is all your own sprite animation, and everything, right?
Yeah, this so everything is basically me except for this. So it's me and a musician who have
Mm-hmm.
worked on this. I've done the code art animations. Yeah, but everything pretty well me other than the music.
Right. And here comes the cauldron. And we want to let 3 greens fall into it. Okay, I think I'm reading that right. And if I get in the way, then I get points, but okay, this one I'm supposed to catch. This one I let in. So what's the difference
Yes.
between like getting points and letting it fall?
So that's still there's a few different things. So and everything's still kind of work in progress. Maybe I'll let you play a little bit before I
Yeah,
answer that question,
sure.
because that's actually been one of the kind of core challenges. The problems I've had to solve with this game is like people just want to play it like a breakout sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess the quickly answer is ultimately it gives you more score. It gives you some abilities in the round, and
Mm-hmm.
in the story mode, it gives you meta unlocks as well.
I feel like I did something wrong there. So I charged something up, but then
Yeah, so I think the first swing, I think it was technically a miss. Like you didn't actually hit the
oh, I
ball.
wasn't close enough to the star. Okay.
Yeah, it's a fairly close hitbox. I actually thought it looked like it should have, so I don't know about that, but
Um, also, hello, welcome to the stream, Lurk Not Lie, and yeah, as far as maybe getting some pre-release versions of the game for the community game night. Just to explain really quick, community game night is what it sounds like on the tin. It's me playing games with other members of the community, but that would involve making something public. It's not just a let's play or something like the other stuff I do on
right.
Thursdays. So
Gotcha.
for that reason, I suppose we'll talk about what prospects of release are maybe a bit later, but
Sure.
I got the basics of the game down. I'll hop into solo mode. And oh, what can I say, Excavator? It comes with the perks of doing the interviews. You do it long enough and people start to think you're legit.
Yeah,
All
fair.
right. So we're starting right at the bottom of the tower. And we can. So there's not. I don't. Whoop. Okay. So as far as I'm aware, I don't see a reason to charge up a hit. Or rather, I can't. Whoop. Okay, so I lose health if I let it fall in. And then. Okay, so that's made something fall down. So the reason I didn't
So
go for that is because I was worried about colliding with the ingredient which I wanted to fall in.
correct. So you so this game is a bit of a different scenario than the last game where you played
Mhm.
Fiend Tower, where I've kind of seen all the feedback. So you let me know. I don't know if you want me to be kind of more vocal about things up front, like things I can talk about that I'm not sure of, or if you want me
Mhm.
to kind of wait till we have questions, because like part of me wants to see what you think,
Yeah,
but
of
then part of me
course.
also wants to be like, hey, here's kind of my thought process behind what's happening here. So
Yeah, well, let's
you
start
let me know
with.
what level of insight you want.
We'll start with me just giving my thoughts and impressions on stuff as I go, because you're only going to get that from me
Okay,
once. And then
fair.
afterwards, we can get into the discussion of, okay, and then here's why it's done that way. And
Awesome. Okay, sounds good.
okay, so at this point, I know that I can sort of get in the way of this and it will bounce. So I don't yet understand the benefits to hitting the star. Maybe that's recharging my mana, although I haven't noticed for sure just yet. Um, so I got to admit, um, not entirely clear on what makes the blocks form ingredients. Like I see that I'm hitting them and then they're changing, but I'm not yet clear on. Whoop,
What happened there?
we got a crash.
Oh, interesting.
Let me. I'll paste that to you in Discord.
Oh, interesting. I'm getting an error for something that I don't even use, so that's bad. Thanks for the error, though. Hopefully, that's not something that's going to be persistent. But did you by chance
Um,
keyboard or something?
sorry.
Did you by chance like press a random button on the keyboard?
I
Like,
don't. It is. It is. It is ever so slightly possible that the cord of the controller pressed the left button on the keyboard.
Okay, because there shouldn't be any like random hotkeys, dev
Mhm.
hotkeys or whatever for like some GIF taking thing, but like there could be.
Okay.
Um, so hopefully it doesn't come up again. It's interesting. This game is arguably more in a finished, polished state than Fiend Tower was, and I don't believe you got a single crash with Fiend Tower.
No, I didn't. But well, so yeah, okay. So my experimentation on seeing it looks like if I build up a higher something is making my mana go up, and I'm maybe it's related to the points I'm earning. Hard to hard to tell right now exactly what's causing that. But yeah, and I'm also not, as I was saying before the crash, I'm also not entirely sure what's causing blocks to actually drop into ingredients versus just being turned into points.
Fair. Are you wanting that insight now? The info behind that?
I'm gonna try to suss it out from playing a little bit longer, but
Okay.
I guess the reason I bring it up is because it feels like something that I should know by this point, like from having played the tutorial.
Yeah, so something I can say is there's a period of time where I was trying to do very minimal tutorials, like
Mm-hmm.
minimal text, like not just having like a prompt come up and explain the rules of the game.
Yeah,
I'm probably going to completely go back on that and just be like, here is the rules of the game.
yeah,
Still probably having the tutorial in the same way, just so you can kind of play it, but then also just like, after a section of the tutorial, it explains what you just did or what you're about to do.
yeah.
Because the tutorial technically made you do everything you could possibly have to do. But it doesn't explain necessarily why or the cause and effect of what you did.
Mm-hmm. And I can also tell that I'm trying to like fill the pot beneath me with ingredients, and then I guess at a certain point it fills up, and that's worth a bunch of points. But also I can just
Yeah,
individually collect the ingredients for points.
yeah. There's a few things collecting it does. I can demo some of these once you finish this level here.
Okay.
So you'll notice two things here. You have 2 stars under the score.
Mm-hmm.
That's because you completed 2 potions on that level.
Mm-hmm.
So you've actually just unlocked a broom from this level and another broom. Right now I'm just throwing all the unlocks I have at this, just kind of testing stuff out. But you'll see in a sec. So, for example, on this level, you completed 2 potions out of not a maximum of 3. So you've unlocked 2 of those items for that
Mm-hmm.
level. So if you'd managed to brew a 3rd potion, you could have gotten a 3rd item.
Mm-hmm.
But if you want, you can check your inventory and kind of cycle if you want to look at some of the stuff you just got, or you
Yeah.
can keep
Okay.
playing.
Wait, I thought B was inventory.
Oh, is it busted? It might be start. Maybe I have it worded wrong.
Okay, no, you know what?
Oh
Okay,
no,
on the
inventory is
screen,
start.
it's
Inventory is start.
yeah. Okay, I see what it was because I said confirm, cancel inventory, and I just looked at that and I was like, okay, that's cancel and that's inventory. It's like no, no, no.
Yeah.
There is a weird kerning going on with the colon for the
Yeah,
word inventory though.
I do see that. I'll have to fix
Okay,
that.
so this is broom, and then I can switch between wooden and star rod and 9 lives, hobby horse. Okay, and then yeah, so there's speed, acceleration, control, and size, all the stats there. I think I'm gonna try out 9 lives. So that's always the thing that I'm the most paranoid about is the missing shot. So I'll go with the paddle. That's the widest. Spells, I don't think I have any of these unlocked. Oh, maybe I do. Dashes forward? But I don't know how to use spells just yet.
And I will say that is not tutorialized in almost any capacity.
Okay.
And for things that aren't, do you want me to just explain these? Like the gems are also not tutorialized.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I mean, if it's gonna be like a part of the gameplay, then yeah, maybe you can explain how the spells work.
So the spells, they're basically just active abilities. They consume your mana. So
Mhm.
one's a dash and one slows down the ball and ingredients. So it's kind of your choice. I'd recommend playing with both and see which one you like. There's going to be more, but that's what is unlocked currently right now. The gems are another part of the brewing process.
Mm-hmm.
So you can equip 3 gems, and a gem activates each time you complete a potion in a level.
Okay, so each
So right now I'm
corresponding
not
to like how many
potion
times you
one.
complete. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
Now, right now, some of these gems are kind of like I don't like them. They're just number adjustment gems, like oh,
Mhm.
change your handling. But some of them have more interesting effects that I do like, and I plan on having more of those in the end. But still, work in progress. Do not take Firestarter in single player.
Okay.
Actually, no. Yeah, I think that's should be strictly a multiplayer only gem. So
All right.
I will
Um,
dev intervene on that.
sure. And then how can I actually tell which spell I have equipped? Is it just like whatever I press A on?
Yeah, whatever you've left it on, I think.
Okay, and then that's going to be displayed somewhere on the UI eventually.
Yeah, it'll be in the yeah, and it'll be the B button in gameplay to actually activate that.
Okay. All right. And then the only thing I wanted to mention about the way that this is presented right now, this how I guess complete would you say this stat display screen here is?
Um, Variable complete.
Mm-hmm.
It's currently MVP completed. Like if I released the game like this, I wouldn't necessarily be sad.
Mm-hmm.
Is there's a lot more I would want to do with this? Quite possibly, yeah. But I would love to hear your thoughts on this.
Mostly insofar as um, the spacing. I feel like you've got a lot of space you can work with, and
Right.
um, I don't know, like the very first time I saw this screen, I didn't necessarily understand well, okay. So this is showing you which unlocks you have versus what you have yet to do, and you're going with this sort of lit up versus non lit up stars. Um, I personally think that you could maybe switch these to like color inversions rather than do you know what I mean by that? Like have the like light outline and dark inside, or just otherwise an
Right.
outline of the stars, just
Yeah.
to show
So
you
it's
haven't
like
got those yet.
right. Okay. Yeah, I could see that.
Um, and I'm wondering if there's some way that you could have like a little, or maybe even if it was like a little picture of a lock with the star count on it or something, just so that players know, like, okay, this is locked, and when you get this many stars, then it unlocks.
Okay. No, I could definitely see that because yeah, when you haven't gotten anything, it's like yeah, it's not exactly clear that it's transparent or it's alpha as opposed to like just a faded star or whatever. No, that totally makes sense.
And then the only other thing is if these aren't like 100% aligned, but they were just close enough where the very first time I was looking at this, I was like reading directly across, like, okay, Star Rod, my name, 3,000 points, and then I have to try it a second time to get more points to unlock this one. Like I'm not sure if there's anything
Yeah,
else that's still going to go on this screen. Like you've got a lot of space down here, and I was wondering if this can be like tall and narrower as opposed to
yeah,
side by side like this.
100% get what you mean. Yeah, no, so that it's right now the placement, I guess. So the functionality is here, but like the placement and like the actual getting everything exact isn't necessarily done. So that's valid as well. Um, it's in the. Did it just crash out of curiosity?
No,
Oh
no, no.
no.
I just clicked away and it this is full screen. I also realized I was just about to reshare the game with you because since it
Yeah,
closed, you've been watching the stream.
yeah, exactly. Okay. Um, yeah, that way I can actually hear the music and sounds too.
Okay, there we go. Sharing the entire screen because for some reason, Discord couldn't see the application. Maybe because it's not full screen. But anyway, um, because yeah, so eventually at some point, I imagine you want to have some UI to display, like your paddle, which when you have equipped is obvious, but your spells maybe aren't.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So yeah, I would like to do more of that. Yeah, so this screen is not really done. Yeah, that's a
Mhm.
good point. Um, yeah, fair enough. So to be clear, it has been probably over a year since I've worked on this
Mhm.
in any serious amount. due to just pandemic stuff. So some of my like, oh, where things are might be a little bit out of date. But yeah, definitely some more information could be conveyed and sorted a bit better. Real
Sure.
quick, it didn't share completely. It's
Oh,
showing a different screen, but we can deal with that after, or you can pause it. Your call.
right. I can, and then let's try stop streaming, and then share, and then maybe it shows up in the list now. Yeah, the application, maybe because I'm full screen, just doesn't want to show up
Maybe
in the list.
the screen you shared though was a different screen. I wasn't seeing like this folder, for example. So I don't know if it
Oh,
was just the wrong screen.
I mean, let's try that again. Maybe.
Seeing the right one this time. Okay, that's great.
Okay. Cool. Glad that's working. Okay. That was interesting. Did I just
Yeah, it doesn't consume the input.
Okay. So you can
So when you press A on resume, it continues to shoot the ball in the game. That's known bug.
Okay. As long as it's a okay, so this is I get that one could be wild, and then the last one is pumpkin, and then okay, well that was good because I actually wanted that to happen. And then I botched that in the end.
Oh, I'm watching the stream for some reason. Even though you gave me the stream. Okay, there we go. I'm now watching in real time.
Okay. So I gotta try and get a couple pumpkins first. Only got one. I need one more pumpkin. Oh wait, maybe the order doesn't so much matter? Oh well, now I can only get pumpkin, so let's grab this. I feel like the order doesn't matter. But on the other hand, the first one is the one that's faded, and the other two are the one that are filled in. So let's... Whoops. Okay. I think we got a crash
Did it
again.
crash? Oh no! What is happening?
It's like the end of the animation for when didn't even throw an error this time. It just froze.
Interesting. I wonder if I like tossed the wrong build because like this is, I'm pretty sure like a convention build. Interesting.
I don't think it's lag, Ludamad, because I
No,
think
that didn't.
Try it again.
Now, if it's easier for you, there's a dev profile you can use that will have all the levels unlocked. If it's so you're not having to replay levels on crashes, would that be better?
Maybe just for sake of getting to try
Yeah.
out. Like I'll know what I did and didn't finish.
Exactly. So on the title screen, you can press enter. Not the title screen, sorry. On the main menu, you can press or start to change your profile. There should just be a dev profile there.
Oh, I see. So I can switch between. Yeah, there we go. I can switch to dev. Got it. And then so arcade is not a mode that's unlocked, right?
Yeah, it's a feature that doesn't exist in any capacity right now. So.
Yeah, I guess that like just while we're on it, the concept of sort of profile selection. I assume you're eventually going to have some text along the bottom of the screen that says like start to switch profile.
Yeah. That's still work in progress.
Yeah, because I think that it would certainly help when you hit the button to like switch profiles, fade the whole screen out, have the switcher be like front and center, and then once you select the profile, then it just like off to the corner of the screen.
Yeah, that's actually a good idea. I do like that.
All right, so we can move right on to level 2, which is I technically finished level 2, but I'll still give it another try.
Okay.
I still want to finish. I still want to figure out exactly how the mechanics of the potion brewing work. Okay, so I had higher mana, and that immediately enchanted the blocks. So I feel like this is going to be okay. No. So I can do them out of order, but what I need to do is charge up. Oh, I see. That makes me move slowly. But I can deliberately charge something up and then miss. Oh, we got our wall chicken. Or I guess it looked like a turkey, but okay. So
Technically, Game Grumps or a sequelitis joke, I
I
should
I
say.
figured I figured that's exactly where that was coming from. The sequelitis on Castlevania 2.
Yeah.
Okay, we have entirely too many pumpkins at this point. Although I'm gonna let one of them maybe no. Okay, well, and then this one's wild, so let's let that go in. Well, I got okay. So I think I'm understanding is that you can. Okay, so I still don't exactly understand how mana relates to your. Okay, but I got 3 of these dropping in. Okay,
The,
so I got a
the
second
fact that
star.
you got 3 there was actually a pretty clutch move. Even if you don't fully understand the mechanics, because it's
Mm-hmm.
possible to not get those 3.
Okay, so I unlocked Convert Gem and I unlocked 500 monies, which I guess I could use to like directly purchase what I want.
Yeah, there is a shop on the title screen as well.
Okay. Um, so I just don't want to ignore these comments coming in from Lunamad. So, by the way, I can resurrect my Brew Breaker random key mashed sometime. It was good for just seeing if the game crashed with a lot of random play. Um, should have let him.
Yes. So Luda, he's a buddy in real life. He made essentially a variant of the game that just like turns off all the drawing and just runs thousands and thousands of times per second, and just an AI just mashes inputs to essentially just try to brute force break the game.
Mhm.
Yeah, so that's what he's suggesting there. And yeah, the dev profile does not give you unlocks. It just unlocks, I think, all the levels.
Okay.
It might give you gold too. I don't actually know.
Right, so I can actually go through and equip some stuff.
You might like Pocket as well. That's on the dev profile.
I see. Catch and release ingredients. Sure, we'll try
Have
it
you
out.
played Super Smash Brothers? Specifically Villager.
Um, I haven't messed around with Villager, no,
Okay, okay.
but I get
It's
I get the
literally just an
idea.
A. Okay, okay.
Yeah, you press the button to grab the item and then press it again to release.
Pretty well, yeah.
Converts portion of mana spent into HP. There's the convert that we just got. Boost on bounce. Why not? Let's try that one out. Ingredients are bubbled. I don't know what the benefit of something being in a bubble just yet is.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of stuff that I'd be curious if you do pinpoint out what some of these things are, because a lot of these things are like almost quality of life things, but
Mm-hmm.
they're things that I eventually will explain. Part of the reason right now is I just don't really have a good UI system in place to just like, here's a pop-up that explains the information, all other inputs pause. Like, I just don't have that system in place yet to easily display information. So a lot of this is just kind of basic game maker, like just draw text to a screen essentially.
Yeah,
It's a bit more
yeah.
complicated than that. I do use Scribble, which is a text engine for game maker, but
Oh,
I
cool.
don't have the UI prompts necessarily in a lot of places.
Yeah. That was something that I found, if you're building UI in GameMaker, you are building it like from
Yes.
scratch, drawing sprites, drawing text, manually setting the alignment for everything. And it's so nice. I gotta say, the maybe my favorite thing about working in Unity is the like UI building stuff
Yeah.
because it's really easy to just have like a empty UI object, wire it up with a component, and then feed it a scriptable object that has like the name of something, its description, and its sprite, and then it takes the scriptable object, unpacks it onto the sort of dummy object that I have, adds it to the screen. Um, so much harder in Game Maker. You can sort of achieve the same effect, but as far as I know, there's no real equivalent to scriptable objects in Game Maker.
Yeah, I don't know enough about Unity or scriptable objects to be able to say. All I know is that GMS in the latest update has gotten much more stronger, and it might be able to have things that make it is easier to make UI now. Let me put it that way.
Good.
part of the issue is a lot of game maker devs, including me. Game Maker is very opposite of Unity, where Game Maker gives you a head start at the beginning,
Yeah.
but Unity gives you that kind of push at the finish.
Yeah, it's very true.
Where like, so when I'm making a lot of these systems, I'm not building systems. I'm just like, how do I get this to do what I wanted to do right now? But I should build like a display UI framework for this project or for any project really. But it's something I just haven't done.
Yeah, it's definitely something that I've been considering as well. Just like I should build a menu system that is better than the jank menu system that I just have built into all my projects right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so if I hit something that's fully charged, then it becomes the special star. When that hits a block, then it becomes an ingredient block. Whoop. I can't believe that counted.
I can't believe that counted either. It's a very loose hitbox, which is why I was really surprised that your hit in the tutorial didn't register. Because like it's pretty big.
I just did it again. Developer cheats on.
Yeah, I think that's just how it is. It's because I've seen a lot of people play it, so I'm like making like little changes here and there to be like, okay, like this is people are missing somehow. Like, how do I make this more forgiving?
So do you have to
So can I give you sorry, I'll let you ask your question. Sorry.
The thing I was gonna ask is there a difference between the sort of charge level of my sort of swipe versus the actual like mana level? So I thought those were the same thing, but I don't think they are.
It's not. So there's basically the mana charge is two functions. It's mana charge, or if you're at full mana, it will go into an empowered swing, which, as you've seen, it enchants the ball immediately. Which I think you just confirmed. The enchanted ball will give you an ingredient brick. There is one other way to enchant the ball that you are not currently utilizing frequently, and I would argue it is the main way.
Oh, okay. So there, know that in the tutorial, it also tried to get me to do like 5 of 5, increasing the number of hits that I got.
It did, yes.
So I'm assuming it has something to do with that.
No comment, unless you want to comment.
Well, I mean, I'll see soon enough because I've got my hit counter on screen now. So if we can get this up to 5, then yeah, there we go. And then keeping it active. Oh, I'm about to run out of time on this one. Oh, it just kills me. So you do still have to clear the board.
You do, yeah. Okay. And I'll be curious to know your feedback on like, I don't know if you went into the. I see. These blocks, I'm like still. They're one of the later additions in the game of me just trying to figure out, like, getting to the stage where I can actually work on like mechanics and stuff like that, like more advanced stuff, I guess. So I'm not always sure they're fun in every case, but these are like trial levels for that, basically.
Oh gosh. Yeah, I mean, I totally get the idea behind them. I think that, so, I am going to give full disclosure on this because I think it's going to be most helpful. And I don't like brick breaker games.
Okay, fair enough.
But I don't like standard, like bog standard brick breaker games. Don't like the ones where, for a couple of reasons. One, it feels like you have very little control. You're kind of just like crossing your fingers and hoping that the ball like makes its way up and above the rest of the bricks and just clears a whole bunch of them for you.
Right.
And so I feel like normally you have very little interaction with the game. And I also feel like it's very difficult to control the angle that the ball ends up going. And the reason I bring this up now is because this particular mechanic with the star and moon blocks is sort of playing into sort of complaint number 2, and that is the actual toggle switch for swapping back and forth between the sun and the moon or the stars in the moon, is very small. I guess there's two of them on either side of the stage, but without the ability to control where the star is going more precisely, um, yeah, I just feel like it's kind of tough. Like, do you ever do something where you have like stuff on the like lower sides of the screen? Like I can imagine Agnes like flying her broom into like hitting a switch on the side, and then that's toggling the blocks back and forth.
So somebody had mentioned that before, and it was a thought, and maybe it's something I'll revisit. The thing is, some brooms can be like really goofy and long,
Mm-hmm.
so to the point where like your swing wouldn't necessarily reach the wall,
Right.
depending on the broom. And maybe that's just like, is having goofy broom designs worth more than losing out on a potential gameplay mechanic? Or maybe I can solve around it
Oh
either
well.
way. Like maybe,
When I was suggesting it, I was thinking that there's literally a button that is up against the
oh,
wall, and you.
you're just bumping into it.
Yep,
You're just hitting it. Okay.
exactly.
You know what? That's probably something very simple. Yeah, you know what? I'll
That's
look into that. I like that idea. Because that might be better. Because I do like these. I think these bricks have a place, but I do want to have not just. I don't want to have just. So one of the options, one of the bricks I was working on last that I didn't get implemented was like a magnetic track
Mhm.
that bricks could be on. That like literally where you move on the screen, you would move the bricks. So like some of them might be destructible bricks, so you can kind of
Mhm.
use them to like adjust things, or maybe one would be the switch, so you could kind of even use that to like second bounce your ball or like hit the switch when you need it.
Mhm.
Stuff like that was one idea I'm playing with, but I do like the idea of having that button down there, so I'll look into that.
Yeah, it's certainly it's a possibility. That the reason I suggest putting it right at the bottom is because that to me seems like the most direct control you could possibly give the player.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's good. I
Um,
do like that.
but the okay, so what else in terms of the control over which direction the star ends up going, right? Um, yeah, okay, so yeah, I would agree that with Ludomad that there is more control in Brew Breaker Agnes than there is in your average Brick Breaker, which is exactly what I was hoping for. I figured that the whole reason that this is an interesting idea that you're pursuing is because it is more than just your standard Brick Breaker. Um, so that being said, how much of a adherent to the classic Brick Breaker principles do you think you are, and then how far are you willing to push the game in potentially another direction? Like,
Uh, so I'm far enough out from the project now where like whatever I don't have a vision, like the vision I had when I was making it last when
mhm.
I was in the weeds, that doesn't exist anymore. So it's kind of fun coming back to projects like that where you have like a fresh kind of like, oh, I can like do whatever I want now. So the answer is like, if you tell me something cool and that like gets me excited and I'm like, okay, I think that would actually uh work really well here, then that's what I would be down to look into that sort of thing.
Okay,
But actually, after this level, you'll see kind of the change in adherence a little bit. Um,
sure.
a little bit spoilers, I guess, but
I can even. Oh, what's that do? I guess this thing I don't know if that was the thing I was supposed to get or if it's the thing I was supposed to let fall in the cauldron.
do you want me to tell you?
Maybe because it wasn't exactly clear, and I don't know how I'm going to find it out other than just waiting for another one of those
Yeah.
to appear.
So that replaced your active spell with a multiplayer spell. So if you press
Oh,
B, you will drop a low row of bricks on the other player.
I see. As if it's
Um,
just been done to me in a second.
yeah, exactly, and that can
Oh.
be timed in certain manners. Like it can sometimes be used to like spike a ball down
Mhm.
if you time it right, just based on the impact. Um, Yeah, so that one is a score race, is how it's
Mhm.
currently
Yeah.
designed. I guess yeah, you probably. Oh, I did add the little stripe in the middle. Um, if you want, you're welcome to skip that, and we can. If you want to do some multiplayer, we can do it live, or you're welcome to. That's a good example of what the multiplayer is like, though.
Mhm. Yeah. Want to play that one? I played a bunch of multiplayer. Yeah. So. I guess um so, and I know that the whole structure of the levels as we see them so far are, as you said, they're just meant to rapidly experiment on a bunch of different things, and you would normally be spacing these way further out, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, because I feel like the player would need maybe some more experience with the game. Maybe they even have to collect a certain number of stars before they're able to, um, advance past a certain level.
That is part of the plan as well for the star system. Actually, having gated little paths, like you can basically content locks.
Right, because there's so the points. Do the points are the points used for anything in particular?
A portion of your score gets converted into gold to spend on the shop.
Right.
But then it's also leaning into classic kind of arcade systems with like a score mechanic
Mm-hmm.
as well.
Yeah, and then do you tally your score across every stage in the game? Is that displayed anywhere?
Um, I don't right now. Currently, like the way it is, and keep in mind this is still like it's not really it's console or device agnostic right now. But the
Right.
idea is that like if you were to switch your profile off of Gab or go into
Mhm.
Dev or whatever,
Yeah.
I guess you are in Dev.
Yeah.
Dev. If you were to beat a level, your score would be added to that same high score table. So right now this score is like cross profile. So
Yeah.
the idea is you might be competing with other people who have similar profiles type thing was the idea, and that'd make the most sense on something like a Switch where
Hmm.
you have different profiles actually on the console, whereas less people are likely to be sharing like a Steam account, for example, for a PC version.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the only reason I bring it up is because I wasn't sure if. Oh, wait, can you actually cut the diagonal on that?
You can, yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
I didn't. It was something that was harder to code, and I don't know if it even matters. I'm like, it doesn't matter.
So the thing I was going to ask is if you wanted to use the stars for progression gating and the points for item unlocks.
Why not both?
Yeah, I mean, it certainly could be. The reason that I suggested the stars is because that's sort of what I think of like mastering the core mechanic of the game. Like you can get points from doing just about anything, and most likely you're going to get the most points in level if you actually get all three stars anyway, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Um, but it feels like mastery, like getting the three stars, is specifically what you need to progress further in the game. But then, yeah, I mean, it's you know the system best, so you know how good of a tell points are of the player's understanding and mastery of the game.
They're very tied together. You're correct. If you get if you, the more stars you get, the better your score will be. Like that's just how it'll work.
Mhm.
So they're kind of tied.
Right. Um, yeah, but the whole point of the points is it's incremental, so that you can tell the difference between like, oh, you cleared the level with 3 stars, but did you get it 3 stars and 18,000 points, or did you get 3 stars and 25,000 points?
So I honestly forget what else my plan was, but memory tells me that I was thinking of making it so that like not everything would be so like some of those unlocks on that screen would be some of them might have been score as well. Some of
Mm-hmm.
them would be stars. I was debating doing like not like achievements, but like little challenges or whatever.
Yeah, of
Um,
course.
I don't really know which way I was going anymore. Like that's something that I would just revisit. So your input is actually valuable in that.
Good, yeah, because I think that's you know, the I think it's a great way to add extra content to a level is the idea that the stars you get aren't always just like get X many potions completed. Like it could be get a potion completed, get your first potion completed in under a minute, or hit the
Yes,
star block
exactly.
3 times, and or toggle between the star and the moon and 5 times, or so on and so on. And I think that that kind of challenge gating definitely adds a lot more replayability to each individual level, rather than just like always going for the high score each time, because it encourages different modes of play.
So I think what I wanted to do, I think my plan was to do stars are always tied to potions because
Mhm.
if you can't tell, there's so many things brewing potions does. There's things I haven't even told you, like not major things. Like it does give you a score multiplier.
Right.
But this is all just like knee-jerk reaction to like people not brewing potions in my game. They're like, why don't I just play this like breakout? Because you know what? If you don't brew potions, it's still fun for a breakout game. Um, or like it still plays like a breakout, I guess is probably
Mhm.
the more humble way to say it. Um, I think I just noticed a bug, maybe, but we'll have to see. But yeah, so I think my idea was that stars would always be tied to potions, and
Mhm.
the idea was that it's like how many potions can you brew in a row was the thing. And then I think I was planning on adding like the separate challenges that you could do individually,
Mhm.
because I think the idea is I didn't want it to have like, well, I guess one star, one achievement or challenge could just be brew 3 potions in a level. So I guess that works either way. It could be just broken down into challenges, and then I don't have to worry about stars always being tied to that. Um, but yeah, the whole thing is just like figuring out a way to make people brew potions, like,
Mhm.
and not just ignore the breakout aspect.
Yeah. Or fix it on the breakout aspect to the detriment of creating the potions.
Right. Yeah. So, am I allowed to give you some like you might beat the level by the time I finish saying this, but here's a good example of when you would use the fully charged mana swing,
Mhm.
because if you hit that block, it's gonna break. You're not gonna get an ingredient out of it, and you
Yeah.
actually very specifically only need 1 pumpkin. So
Yeah, I
here's
see
the
it.
exact situation where you would do that fully charged swing, and you would try to get that. Ooh.
Oh, I just killed myself.
Oh. I know. I don't know what gets priority here. It's not ticking down, so I think you died gets priority. Or maybe it just says you're stuck? Is
I was
that's what's
gonna
happening
say,
right now?
yeah, 'cause I both cleared the level and died at the same time.
I know I've coded this in the past. Like I know I've fixed this. I guess I've done something since then to not fix that. Thank
Keep,
goodness there's a main menu button.
yeah, we were not completely soft locked. Oh man, I'm sorry. I keep just.
No, no worries, no worries. It's good to see this. And like I said, this might not be an act. It might just be the most latest build. This might not actually be a con build. And you're welcome at some point. I guess you can check out the shop afterwards.
Oh yeah.
Some of the
Well,
stuff I'm more just excited just about from like a polish or a fun theming perspective.
yeah. I forgot the shop
Um,
was actually on the title screen.
yeah, that's the main menu is kind of just like a choice, and there's no visuals for this. It's left and right, I think, to cycle through.
Mm-hmm.
I've coded so many independent. Is there literally only 2 items in this shop right now? Okay, there might only be
Looks
two
like.
items. Yeah, and the idea was that you'll eventually be able to have a player two logged in as a profile, and they would
Mm-hmm.
also be able to shop as well.
Well, let's grab both of these. All right.
Legally distinct anime cloud.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's like, yellow cloud named Nimbus. Oh,
um,
all you have to do is call it Cumulo instead.
yeah, exactly. Well, Nimbus is just a type of. Mm, mm,
Cumulonimbus specifically.
yeah. Hey, Calix. Good to see you. Luda. I'm just gonna read what Luda said. So I don't think. Wait, I don't know how I feel about the current whiffing system not getting ingredients. I almost rather double ingredients or something if charged. What do you mean exactly by that, Luda?
So the way that the game is currently articulated, I can imagine a couple different branches you could explore. We'll see what Luda says first. Right now, you don't get ingredients if you don't understand the mechanic. Yes, exactly.
Correct.
Um, so that's where I feel like with tutorialization, yes, yeah, there you go. That's pretty much the exact suggestion I was going to say. Um, well, actually, hang on. It could maybe give you charge once if you do it right. Oh, okay. So I was actually going to suggest that first couple levels you
Oh,
play, the blocks that are in the level are pre-charged, and it's
yeah.
more of a matter of making sure the right ones go in the pot rather than worrying about charging the blocks.
Honestly, I want to say I think I've thought of that and it's a good idea and I just haven't implemented it. But
Mhm.
I've also maybe haven't thought of that. But either way, that is a great idea, and that's something I do want to do. One mechanic block I thought of doing, and this also maybe isn't the right idea too. But I just have a lot of these like you try to figure out different bricks, right? The game is about bricks. What do
Yeah.
bricks do? So one would be just like a thing that, like, depending on which way you would hit a brick and it would shoot like magic dust out to whatever direction you've hit it in, and like magic those bricks in that row. Like, I've thought of different ways of enchanting bricks. But yeah, having, honestly, especially early on, introducing bricks that are just like, yeah, pre-charged, that's really not a bad idea. And then honestly, even like supercharging might even be, I don't know how that changes things, having 2 ingredients drop at once. Maybe a giant ingredient that counts for 2, but then the question is, what happens if it goes in and you don't need 2 of that ingredient? Does it benefit you in some way? I don't know. This is overcomplicating right now, but yeah, either way, it's a great idea.
Yeah, so I guess if it really depends on which aspect of the game you want to lean on the most. Like, if you want to really lean to the idea of the potions being brewed at any given moment, then I think it makes sense to at least try to see what the game feels like if just like all blocks are charged all the time. But then, you've got an entire mechanic built around keeping up a rally and using that to get blocks charged. So what do you do with that exactly? I don't want to suggest like a radical change, but it could even be. I'm thinking the first thing that jumps to my mind is like hitting an ingredient as it's falling that makes it golden, and then that's worth extra points when you brew a potion with a golden ingredient. And you have to hit the ingredient as it's falling, but that's really hard.
Now, there is going to be a level that has the next after this level has a mechanic that involves hitting ingredients as well. I will say.
Okay. Well, let me try. Okay, so we're setting up for that. I see. I was sort of cutscened into that.
Once again,
that's an attack.
Yeah. So this once again is a con build where I'm just trying to set up as much as possible, to just not have to tell players what exactly is happening, while not having a text system.
So Ludamite is suggesting could maybe give you charged ones if you do it right. Oh, sorry, no, that was already a comment from before. Every once in a while, the chat will refresh for some reason, and I'll think that it's a new comment that's been pasted, and then it's like, no, I read that one already.
For my own sanity, is he flickering when you're hitting him with a ball?
Yes, he is.
Okay, it's just the frame rate of the
yeah,
screen
broadcasting is only 15 frames per second.
That's fine. That makes sense. That's good to know that you can do that, actually.
Yeah, I mean, just Discord defaulted to 15 frames per second because of the other stream going on in the background, which that stream is also only broadcasting at 30 frames per second, 1080. So
that's still
that could also be
part
of it.
Yeah, I'm watching on Discord, Luda, so that makes sense. Now something's not happening here in this fight, and okay, there we go.
Yeah, so we've got the blocks that specifically drop the fireballs, which I gotta watch out for. Classic video game advice, watch out for fireballs. Also, classic video game podcast.
Classic video game what?
Podcast. Watch out for fireballs.
Oh, yeah. Does that actually exist?
Yeah, that's legit.
Oh,
that is legitimately the name of a podcast. Quite a good one, actually. They start with playing like retro video games and then move on to more modern games. But yeah, I feel like they give each game like a sort of story treatment, talk about the mechanics, talk about what's cool, what's maybe not so cool about it, and I'd highly recommend it. Like, especially if you see a game, if you see them talking about a game,
Huh. Okay.
Like I've listened.
Sorry, is it? Sorry, go on.
Oh, I was just going to say I've listened to the entire back catalog of the Designer Notes podcast, but so I wouldn't say it's on the same level because they're not actual game developers; they're just game play enthusiasts. But yeah, I'd say they're very articulate about it.
You can still get really good insight out of that, so definitely could appreciate that.
But yeah, the podcast is literally called "Watch Out for Fireballs."
Okay, I'm gonna write that down. I'll check that out.
Yeah, they've got like several hundred episodes at this point. They're also known for creating the podcast Bonfire Side Chat, well known to the Dark Souls community, and Abject Suffering, where they specifically play games that are, you know, the bad ones, but maybe the bad ones that there's funny stuff to talk about.
Right, fair. Now, it's funny when something happens in your game that you forgot was a feature. I forgot I had shop unlocks after the boss. I'm like, why is there only a couple items in the shop? That's weird.
There we go. Oh my god, look at this thing. We gotta have that. just a straight up pong battle, all right?
Legally
Okay,
distinct anime room.
Very nice.
Yeah, a lot of legally distinct anime things. Actually, I'm curious if this build has something. We can save it because it's going to be in the versus mode. We'll see when we get there, but
sure.
There's something that is not legally distinct, but also in a legally weird gray area. So we'll talk about that when we get to it.
We've got to switch to.
By the way, this is my favorite thing. This menu, I love this menu to this day.
Yeah. Double Dragon, nice.
I don't know if that's illegal. It's just a two-headed dragon staff. Come on.
I mean, you could always just call it Twin Dragon, and it would be
nah, Double Dragon,
Double Wyvern. No,
double. I mean, if I'm getting a cease and desist from Team Double Dragon, I'll do that. But
oh my gosh, did you? Whoops. Did you actually watch Cardcaptor Sakura? I remember.
Yeah, so actually,
TV when I was a kid.
Yeah, watched on a YTV growing up.
Yeah,
you probably.
Same.
Yeah. Okay. And recently, because it's on Netflix now, me and my girlfriend have watched a little bit of it, and it's actually surprisingly good. Like, it holds up okay. It's kind of weird at times, but like, it's like animation's actually pretty good. Like, it doesn't feel as dated as I thought it would. And keep in mind, I'm also watching it in Japanese this time, where I would have been only watching it, not knowing even probably that it was an anime at the time. I probably was like, it's a cartoon on TV. Why don't the lips match quite right?
Yeah, I ended up rewatching. There's a surprising amount of stuff that they just like maybe don't allude to in the English dub.
Yeah,
like,
some
crushes. We don't need to get into it beyond that, but it's just
yeah,
like, whoa,
really
that was.
It's not subtle in Japanese.
Yeah.
And it's also interesting because like there's I mean, like to mention it, there's like homosexuality in it, but like I find anime often doesn't handle those themes super well.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like they don't lean into some tropes that you kind of see anime do a lot. So good for them, I guess. Then again, I haven't seen that far to know, so but either way.
I actually did try to rewatch the show. We're on a total tangent here, but like I just want to mention we were watching a bunch of the show. My mom and I actually we was like, oh, this is a show I liked as a kid. Let's try watching it. It's in Japanese. We can find that for free online. And you know we were watching it. I was like, yeah, this is decently fun. It's like, well, there sure are a lot of episodes that, for lack of a better word, I can only describe as fluff, where not much of consequence happens. Then we hit an episode which was titled Sakura's Kind Father, and we just looked at each other. We're like, I think we're done.
Sakura's what?
Sakura's Kind Father. And it's like, I don't think anything's going to happen in this episode.
Oh, yeah, fair. Yeah, the dub was a Butcher Luda. Yeah, fair.
Anyway.
Yeah, it was a nice little blast from the past.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that time I noticed you were using the ball. That's sort of still a weird mechanic, or I'm like trying to like the ball essentially is your controlled projectile in that.
Mm-hmm.
And then the idea is you can play around with the fact that the boss follows you to kind of like lead him into hits.
Yeah.
And then one problem I've been having with designing bosses with this, actually, Sylvie designed a boss in this. Like it's actually technically it's not playable right now, but like in this build I should say. But she designed a boss. But the struggle is figuring out how to make bosses. What am I trying to say here? Bosses also include the brick breaking mechanic, or the potion brewing mechanic.
Right.
Okay. So this is a newer thing, newer design, and you might not even notice it, but I'm just gonna let you. I'm gonna see what happens with your playthrough on this because there's some differences with this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and this level is actually the way it's designed. You wouldn't really notice any
Mm-hmm.
differences in, I guess, to be fair. But okay, never mind.
So when we have a wider broom, does that expose our hitbox to more hits?
It does, yeah.
Okay, so it's trade-off.
Okay, can I reveal the gameplay mechanic of that level because there's no real. It's one of the latest things I worked on in this build.
Yeah.
Okay, so in this, the idea is I wanted to have an ingredient that is actually a negative. So the other ones you can just collect, right? But the idea with this one is those are actually on fire.
Mm-hmm.
So your options for if they don't match the current recipe, which they always do in that level because it's all red bricks.
Yeah.
You can actually hit it back and it will stop being on fire and turn into a ball that will eventually just kind of disappear. That ball can also be used. Like you can actually let the ball go into the cauldron and it still counts as an ingredient. So like you can also potentially defer your ingredients a little bit and come back to. But the idea is that this ingredient is now also a hazard to you and a ball.
Yeah. So like I realize I'm playing this entire game without engaging with the spell mechanic. There's literally another button in this game, and like there are two,
Right.
and I'm not
True.
using it.
That's I didn't even I was gonna mention that earlier and then I forgot about it. Oh yeah, that I should have mentioned that earlier. Some of these were really helpful. Like I would just test it out. Like you can grab an ingredient, so it'll grab an ingredient.
Right. Yeah. That's what this one is.
And it won't really matter on this level because once again, almost everything can go in, or like everything can go in, right?
Right.
So like that example, oh, weird glitch. It changes to a blue ingredient. Weird. Okay, but it releases correctly. Good to know. So like there, for example, you would have had to either decide to take a hit or actually maybe not there exactly. But you technically were able to grab the ingredient and then get out of the way of the fireball because of that spell. Or if you had the slow down time one, it might have done something similar. Or if you had the dash, like they all kind of play differently, and I think they work pretty well. But I'm super biased, obviously.
So
so the idea
can actually hit these guys back. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and they will just fizzle out eventually, but
that was something that I ended up doing by mistake that time. I didn't realize it was a thing that I could do.
Yeah, so I'm still working on the the how I convey that sort of thing. That's been a challenge of like, what is a ball? Like, what is that? What happens to what is a ball? What is that thing that hurts you? Like, what do these things look like? How do you know what's what? And I think some of it I might just have to explain, but I haven't figured it out 100% yet.
Yeah, I mean, like if an ingredient is given sort of consistent language and like an ingredient doesn't look ball shaped, or maybe an ingredient always has like a white outline around it and is flashing, but a ball will specifically like spin or something. Like there's some other visual language you can differentiate them.
So that does exist. So ingredients jiggle and they'll sparkle if they match the ingredient in the cauldron. I don't know if you noticed that. Actually, that's spoilers. And balls, they always have a trail behind them. But how do I convey that ingredient also hurts you? Have a fire effect on it. It's not a very good. It's a temporary effect. It was like a quick throw in from an old project, so that should be more clear that it's damaging. But how do I convey that is an object you can now hit back? Because you can't hit back other ingredients. You can hit back that ingredient. So that's a weird thing. An original design choice, original idea of the game was that every ingredient would have an ingredient ball that if you did a charged hit on, you would hit the ball back as a specific ingredient. Or as a specific ball. So the slime might like bounce really fast, but hit a wall, stick to it, and then like bounce really fast, stick to a wall, like kind of like a weird movement pattern or something, just for a bit more flavor. But I didn't end up going with that just due to that's another thing I'm adding to a game, and games are hard.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess, like one of my favorite mechanics that I've seen introduced in some Brick Breaker games is whenever there's a power that lets you like grab and keep the ball as it's coming down towards you and then release it at a specific angle. Do you
Right.
have any plans to include something like that as a spell or
Yeah, so
anything
as a
else?
spell, 100%. But the thing is, like, I don't. No, it makes the most sense right now for a spell.
Mhm.
Um, but like people do like power ups and stuff, so like that could even be something that's like I do have the spell power ups in multiplayer. I do plan on adding. I can add that thing in single player as well, where you get a spell that temporarily overwrites your current spell, but you can now use it to do other things like that. So it might be something like that as well. But I do want to add that as well because yeah, that will give you more control for sure.
Yeah, like it really helps to like if you could sort of sneakily let the player charge up that spell throughout a map so that by the time there's very few blocks left, because that's another again point of frustration I have with a lot of Brick Breaker games is like
Yeah,
trying to hit the next one. Man, when you don't have the best control over the ball, it can be really tough. But if you sort of like charge up a meter and then you decide when you want to like grab the ball, aim it directly.
yeah.
I don't know if you would want
So
to use. Yeah,
counterpoint to that, one thing I plan on doing, one quality of life feature I don't
yeah,
have, tried to code it in and it didn't go right, and I just haven't done it since. But I want to have the less bricks there are, or maybe it was the longer the ball goes without touching a brick, it'll
mm-hmm.
essentially start to speed up
Mm-hmm.
until it goes below the threshold where the player is going to be. So you'll go back to being normal speed so the player can react to it.
Mm-hmm.
But essentially, it won't do that slow, like a bounce, bounce,
Right.
it'll speed through that part and get back to the point where you can hit it again. So I do want to do something like that. But you know what? It could be a cool thing where, like, maybe at the end, like the last 20 seconds, you get like an extra whatever. But then that's another mechanic that has to be explained of like, what's
Yeah.
this bonus power up thing? So that'd be a tough one. But yeah, I do want to make it easier for that. The other thing to mention too is with the bigger brooms, you technically do have better aim because you,
Mm-hmm.
you are in control of the paddle. Like if the
Yeah.
ball hits the left side, it goes left. If it hits the center, it goes up. If it's right,
Yeah.
it goes right. So with the bigger paddle, you have more leeway, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
to like the zones. Right, you have more of an area to use. I don't know how to
Mm-hmm.
describe that exactly, but I think you get what I'm saying.
Yeah. You,
So
you
like,
you
there's
do
different
have
options
more.
to aim better. So like the idea is that like there's different things that'll let the player customize like whatever their weakness is.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it can also be something I honestly solve in like I solve with a gem as well. Like I do want to explore more interesting and kind of like gems. Like maybe one of the gems is like last 10-second gain this power up.
Mm-hmm.
Because that one power up I told you to do or told you not to take that one gem, it gives you a PvP spell every 10 seconds. You get a charge every 10 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
So I could have something like that where you get a charge of this um, power up, or your spell's replaced by this spell in the last 30 seconds of a match, for example. It could be a gem that would solve that problem. And if I
Yeah.
made it a tier 1 gem, you can get that early. The trade off is, it's a wasted gem early, but it's something that gives you kind of more control in the last stretch.
Yeah.
Um,
But the gems unlock specifically when you're brewing the potions.
correct.
Um. So that's I guess it is sort of like most likely that by the time you brewed the third potion, that's when you're gonna want that manual control.
Well, so
Um,
that's what I was saying. I would maybe make that gem a tier 1 gem.
yeah.
So it's a gem that early on isn't very useful, but activates very quickly. So you're kind of wasting a slot on something that isn't useful for most of the match, but you're
Mhm.
very much likely to brew at least one potion.
Right.
Um, and then, by the last 30 seconds, boom, your spell's replaced by this target spell, and something like that I could see working.
So you're
Um,
sort of just like holding on to something that you know is useful throughout the match.
yeah, exactly. It's kind of stuff like that I want to introduce. So like and honestly, it could be something that's best of all worlds. I could have power ups, I could have the gem that does this, or I can just have the dedicated spell, or
Hmm.
all of the above, I guess is what I'm saying. So either
Yeah.
way, I do want to add that. That is a very kind of quintessential breakout ability.
Yeah. Yes. It really just does come down to the idea of like how like I feel like the you want to lean into what makes this game unique, and that's the spell brew, the potion brewing, and the use of spells and other things like that. So I think it does make sense that you get access to more spells and abilities for the potions you brew.
Right.
But yeah, I'm just sort of cycling back to think about like how do you better incentivize people to actually engage with the core mechanic of the game.
And to be honest, I think literally just explaining everything I've told you, like literally just
Mm-hmm.
like not just doing this meta tutorial or this textless tutorial where I just like suggest it. It's like, here's the advantages, the very clear advantages of brewing a potion. Here's things that you will not get. You will not get to unlock, whether it's the main path or side paths, you will not get to these unless you're engaging with this mechanic.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I do to an extent want people to be able to just kind of like not like I don't want you to have to be like brewing 3 potions every level. Like that's not
Mm-hmm.
necessarily the game, but you have to be trying is kind of the goal with it. Um, so yeah, it's like, I want to strike a middle ground with that, but like I think just telling people and saying here's what you get for doing this, like it's beneficial for you.
Yeah, like there should be enough of an incentive towards brewing the potions that's incentivizes player, like that's the way you would want to play the game, right?
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. Like the actual well, right. So the thing is the reason why I personally think potion brewing is fun. I tried this as a jam and immediately kind of like the idea because it creates that you're used to just like you collect everything that falls, but now you have this weird like meta game of like you're not just like while the ball's bouncing, you're now kind of like dodging things, like if like you're playing a little game down below while the ball is bouncing up top is the idea with it. And sometimes you want to collect something, but other times you want to avoid it, and your like brain catches on fire sometimes when too much stuff is there. So I think it's fun on its own, but the issue is that without players knowing really what's happening, there's nothing that discourages playing it 100% like a breakout right now. I
mhm.
think that's part of the problem too. Is like there's reasons to play it. You should try the card captor broom only because it's animated.
Sure.
But you don't have to. I think it's a hard broom to play. It's very tiny. I just like that one because it's the only animated broom. Um, yeah, it's just there's nothing to decentivize that play, and there's nothing telling them it's bad to play like that. Like so, it's just like, oh, it's a breakout game, cool.
Mhm.
I think is a big problem with this, which is why people avoid the system. But like literally to lay it all out, you get unlocks for 3 stars. So for brewing 1, 2, or 3 potions, you get a score increase, which gives you money.
Mhm.
Eventually, there'll be level unlocks. There's your gems, which makes it possible to do things better and get a better score as well. Like it all feeds on each other. Um, so like it is very very and a score multiplier. I don't know if I said that as well. It's very clearly beneficial to be engaging with this mechanic in the game.
Yeah.
And even stuff like that, like taking damage, damage trading for like an ingredient is a very intentional part of the thing. Like, do you have enough health to manage that? That's kind of a decision because like you could have collected that slime and gotten still points for it. It's not bad
Yeah.
to collect it. It's just not the best to collect that. Whereas there's no consequence to losing some health.
Right. And that, yeah, like I was actually going to bring that up because I feel like there's a lot of situations between like when the like lightning, not the lightning bolts, but like the fire bolts come out of the cauldron, and there just seem to be a lot of situations where there's literally nothing you can do to avoid, like, oh, okay, well,
Well,
I either take the damage here or
well, how about this? Try saving up your mana and using your spell.
right.
Because
But
that's the thing. Some of the spells specifically do deal with that as well, right? So this one will slow down ingredients in the balls,
mhm,
and I think projectiles. So like the flame, if you need to like wait out that flame spitter,
mhm.
you can hold down B, and all the ingredients will suddenly slow down, uh, and you can wait out the fire, or you can sneak between 2 ingredients while they're going slow.
Yeah. But that's only if you have this spell, right?
Only if you have that spell. Counterpoint: if you had dash, right? Similar thing. You could dash. It's slowdown time and dash are almost the same thing. They're just
Mhm.
adjusting the speed at which you move in theory.
Right.
Um, but they both work in a similar way. So whatever your preference, both will work potentially. Pocket has its like the idea is that you might need to switch out your gems or your like it's basically you're making a build. It's weird to think of a brick breaker game with builds, but
Mhm.
like it's like how do you want to solve the problem at hand? Like what works for you? Are you the person who wants to pocket ingredient to have that like clutch clutch in game, like the clutch ingredient on hand, or do you want to like play actiony with a dash, or slow and thoughtful with the Chronos spell? Yeah, so that's kind of the idea, is you can solve these problems with different ways. Or maybe you take a smaller broom to kind of snake through a tough level, lower your hitbox, and risk reward, because now you have a tighter impact.
Yeah.
Whether I'm successful with this though, I don't know, but that's the idea.
Right, and that's specifically why I picked the smaller broom for this one. I guess the damage trading isn't a mechanic I like to rely on, because this is very much personal to me as a player, and naturally by extension what I try to aspire to as a developer. But I try to think of taking damage as resulting from I screwed up, rather than, well, I'm going to pick the lesser of two evils here and just take damage because I know I need this instead of this. So
Now define need though. Do you need that ingredient in the cauldron? Or
I do, because I know there's a finite number of ingredients, and getting ingredients to drop is hard. So
yep.
I'm more incentivized to, like, I have full health, so I should just take damage here because I'm not going to die. For that sense, it is a trade-off, because if you die, you lose the level outright. You're making that choice of like, oh, okay, well, I have the health right now, so I can afford to tank the damage and go towards completion. But yeah, it feels to me like screwed up, but I also feel like there was nothing I could do in the situation, because I was sort of doomed to fail by elements outside my control.
Correct. So first, to cover what you said, it's interesting because like I've demoed this multiple times at places, and I've honestly heard both sides. Like neither perspective is. I've heard both, right? Some people are like, yeah, it feels like I couldn't do anything there. And then there's people like, oh, like they kind of like that. Like I guess I think Luda just said something like people who like everything for an edge like it. Yeah, like some people like it is kind of like, it's like it's something they like to play with. It's like another resource they have. But the one counterpoint and the reason why I think it works is because like you felt like you couldn't really do anything. But I still think you're like I still think with like getting the mechanics down, like I can like pretty consistently, obviously I'm the developer, so it's bullshit what I can do. I can like target specific bricks pretty easily. I can whatever, but even ignoring the player skill side of it, I think with builds, for example, it can help. So for example, I'll explain the bubble mechanic, because it's kind of a weird quality of life thing that just kind of ended up working really well. But what happens is sometimes if you get really crazy runs in the game, you can literally have like you can have like 20 ingredients falling technically.
Wow.
And that's insane. So the way bubbling works is if there's more than 2 ingredients, every ingredient after that will be bubbled, and a bubble will pop every like 1 or 2 seconds in order that they are created. So it very specifically staggers. Here, you might get some. There you go. So you got 1 bubble there. It just slows it down a bit. Or right there, if the potion's completed, all ingredients get bubbled, so you have some time to like see what the next one is.
Yeah, it's not wasted.
Exactly. So you could get a gem, for example, where everything's bubbled, right? And you're gonna have less likely to worry about these like, oh, I got to deal with these 2 things at once, right? Or like there, you could have been ready to catch the ball by doing the kind of angle math and being on the other side of that slime preemptively, I think.
Yeah.
So like there's little things you can do, and like I think with builds you can still correct for stuff like that. Or like I said, some players might even just want to intentionally take that damage trade. Like there, right? Like you took damage to get some chicken. I think chicken technically heals you more than the damage you take. That's something I don't know if that's like an argument for either way, but like you could have not taken the damage and let the chicken fall in, right? So stuff like that. Hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah, it definitely does. I guess the difference that I'll lean on is that like I have to still make that last brick. I thought I was like, okay, we're Cave Johnson, we're done here, but I forgot that little guy is still up there.
I love that. Real quick, I have to give a nod to that reference. Those are very underrated videos. They're so good.
There's like, talk about one of the best advertising campaigns Valve, I mean, seriously, between those Portal adverts and the Meet the Blank series for Team Fortress, like the
Two
commercials
days
you
ago, I
want to
went through
watch.
and watched all the meat videos. I'm
Yeah,
like, every so often they're just like, oh, a tasty treat.
yeah,
There's like a handful of cutscenes I go back to that I'm like, oh god, these guys are so good. But
yeah,
yeah, the
for
investment
sure.
opportunities are so good.
Yeah.
Sorry, continue.
Okay, this is my hell.
Okay, fair enough. So like I can appreciate that. So like all I could say is like you want to try to hit it like different angles, like either the side of the brooms or the side of the wand, right?
I shouldn't
Um,
be trying to hit it with my wand like this because that's making it harder for me to angle it. There
yeah,
we go.
so the wand technically works the same way.
Right.
It's just obviously you don't have a visual representation for this imaginary paddle that's essentially above the player, right?
Hmm.
But you can still kind of control that, and you get a feel for that eventually.
Yeah.
But it's never going to be 100% there, but you do get better control of that as
Yeah.
time goes on. But like I said, I do hate that too. Whenever I'm watching people do that, I'm like, fuck, I gotta add that system. And I talked about where it's
Yeah.
just like make something easier to manage that.
Yeah. So I'm glad that Ludamad mentioned that they had a rough time with Into the Breach because I love Into the Breach. So I think that very clearly we are just different. We have different preferences as far as the games that we encounter, right? Like, sorry, I don't know if you're specifically defending the in-game the self damage because I've seen. I think there was like a clip in Game Grumps one time where we made a level and it's like, oh well, you got to get a mushroom here and then damage boost over these spikes. I would never design a level that way. Um,
Right.
I I love Into the Breach because I love trying to like work through a system, and the turn-based nature of it is all very satisfying to me. And I love like sort of trying to like think multiple steps ahead and so on and so on. And I know that there are builds in some games that reward like I can think of a few RPGs in particular that are like um, give the player equipment that puts them into low HP, but then they have other equipment that activates when they're in a low HP threshold that gives them like an attack boost. So I think that that kind of quote unquote self damage is a very different mechanic because it's um, a risk reward more than,
Right.
well, I'm just going to get hit in the face here because of circumstances that are outside of my control. Like I'm deliberately choosing to lower my HP pool. So I don't think of that as the same. Ludoman mentions, I found the game great, don't get me wrong. The fact that you got rewards for doing well meant I felt bad when I took compromises. Yeah. And, here's the other thing. I've only ever played Into the Breach on easy difficulty so far because I'm like very slowly piecemealing my way through that game because I really enjoy it and I want to like build a mastery of it over time. So if I haven't played on the harder difficulty where maybe you sort of like felt like you were being punished for not playing perfectly. But so tying things back in here, um, yeah, I guess the reason that this feels specifically frustrating to me, I can imagine it working for other players. And I think that what's going to be best is if you decide which type of player you want this game to appeal to and lean into that, right? You don't want to split the difference.
Right.
You want to build a game that's going to appeal to the specific audience. So if you want to find out, like, is the audience for this game going to enjoy the, like, oh, here's the trade-off where I'm going to like take damage here, but the ingredient's going to fall in the pot that I wanted, or is it going to be the audience that it's like, well, I feel great because there was a lot of stuff happening and it felt like there was no way for me to get through that without taking damage. Um, the game being built as it is, I feel like it would be pretty tough to rebuild it in such a way where um, you completely remove that as a factor.
Yeah, like it involves drastically change. Like I can't even imagine what the game would look like in that because like the issue is it's hard. It's breakout. You don't ever have true control. Like
Yeah,
it's unless you're a robot, you don't have the control you need. So
yeah,
that's the tricky bit. So I think I'm fine with the way it is. Like I said, I think there's enough ways that you can work around it. And some people, it's kind of, the thing you said is almost similar to what like Luda said, where like it's not bad that he like doesn't finish an Into the Breach level perfectly, but the game's like, oh, but you could have done it better.
Mhm.
Similar to the way what you were doing it, like you get rewarded for collecting an ingredient, even if it's better off in the cauldron. But your mind went to that same area that Luda did, where like but this is the optimal way to play.
Mhm.
So you did that. So that's almost like a fighting against player tendency, like how players will, do dumb things for themselves. I'm not saying what you did there was dumb, but even it's something you don't enjoy and you still kind of made that choice, right? Um, yeah, but I guess I think with builds, there's going to be enough that you can work around that I'm comfortable where it is, even though I do. I'm fine with it being in the game. I'm going to lean to that
Yeah.
approach because I think the alternative is too expensive
Yeah.
in like every manner.
Yeah.
But it is
I
a very
agree.
interesting topic because it's funny that it splits the room in a sense, and
Yeah.
hopefully it's not deal breaking enough for those who it does split.
Right. And so, that's where I'm thinking, like, without changing the mechanics of the game, without changing the fact that like stuff is going to start to feel out of control. Um, I'm wondering if like there's a slowdown and there's a speed up and these things that I feel like sometimes fundamentally don't help. Like if there's a wall of flame between me and the ingredient that's falling in the pot, I have to tank the damage to go through that if I wanted to reflect it. Unless there was like a think with portal spell that allows you to go to the right side of the screen and come in from the left side of the screen. Now you get to the other side of that hazard.
But as I was saying though, with the slowdown time spell,
Yeah.
you can hold the ingredient there effectively and like wait out the flame and then go and grab it.
Oh, because it's selectively applying the slowdown to
Yeah,
only
it's
the ingredients.
I believe it's balls and ingredients that it affects. It might affect.
Okay.
I don't know if yeah, it's not 100% across the board. Um, and dash technically you can maybe beat it,
Mm-hmm.
and even pocket might have a big enough hitbox that it might even like kind of lurch over potentially. I don't know that for sure.
So in any case, I think the only thing you have to change is the phrasing on like if it just says slow time, I assume slow time applies to everything. And I still
Yeah,
see the
no, that's
utility
fair.
of that as a player, but I don't make the connection that it only applies to the things that are falling and maybe myself. I didn't realize that it would
Yeah.
allow me to like wait out hazards.
And this just comes down to me not having once again a great UI system to manage like this menu. Like this circle menu is designed for brooms, and
Mm-hmm.
me throwing in spells and gems is me hacking it essentially. So like you can see, like it's not a very big amount of space to put a lot of information. So like
Yeah.
I'll probably have like a bigger prompt or whatever, something like that. But
You gotta have the thing where you can hold the button down and it just cycles through the inputs really
yeah,
quickly.
it's funny. I can't believe I don't have that. By the way, paddle is planned to be a secret broom because it is probably broken. Like it plays like a breakout paddle in the sense that it's very reactive, very low physics. Um,
Let's try it.
it's goofy. Um, it's
Oh
just my
wow.
favorite joke in the game.
Yeah, yeah, I see what you mean about like you can move
It,
real
it,
quick.
it, it plays like how shitty old breakouts play, like the first ones where like there's no thought put into how there's no game feel. The game feel doesn't exist yet. They're like, look, we have a paddle moving on screen. Isn't this amazing? Um, yeah, I already know how I plan on having this unlocked secretly. I
Well,
can't. I can spoil it off screen on stream, but it's actually one of the spoils that I don't want to do on
oh yeah, don't
stream.
don't
It's
don't.
not.
You don't need to.
Yeah, yeah.
I'll in that vein, I'll share something. My favorite thing I ever overheard with regards to a breakout game that was being built for some like I'm gonna say generic garbage PDA device. Like, and the reason I
Yep.
say garbage is because like the screen refresh rate was really really low.
Yeah.
And they're saying like, well, what how on earth did you make breakout run on this thing? And furthermore, how'd you get that really cool like trail effect on the ball? How does the thing have the hardware to run that? And they said like,
Oh,
oh, there's no trail effect. That's just the screen ghosting.
Damn, accidental polish.
Yeah.
Just polish by default. That's
Yeah.
so good. Honestly though, like I love things that like bugs as features is one of my favorite things in the world. It's so fun.
No.
Is that a crash?
Yeah. So something
That's
that happens
fair.
when the level ends.
Interesting. Well, once again, when I get back into it, I'll have to do some deep dive on some of these bugs. It's curious because I think this must not be a stable build because this is crashing more than because when I've done conventions, I usually have two machines running the game
Mhm.
and some crashes here and there, but like not in the amount of time we've spent on one game.
Yeah.
So very interesting. And then before you or we jump into multiplayer, I don't know how we are for time, but can I point out a few my favorite bits of polish?
Please do.
So I love the soundtrack in the game. I didn't like it at first, but like the more I sat with it in the jam version, I'm like, no, this is the right direction. So on the title screen, if you just let it sit, you'll notice the menus pulse to the beat of the song.
Yeah.
And if you go to level like 1 in solo,
Mhm.
one of my game maker buddies, he actually made a musical timing system essentially, or like an asynchronous timing system in the game. So very specifically, you'll notice the blocks pulse exactly. Did it crash or no?
No, there was a sad face with no music on stream, and I realized like, oh, I got it turned down really low because
Oh, I
just
see.
just
I
by
see.
default for everyone like because this is a interview stream, I always try to put the
Oh,
emphasis
yeah,
so that you can actually hear our guest.
Fair. But yeah, so like the bricks pulse in time to the beat of the music, and it'll go like when the beat slows down, when there's bass drops, when it gets really fast, like it's very in tune with that, and it just feels very satisfying. It's a little bit hard coded, like I have to say, okay, during these timings it's like double time, this time it's eighth notes or whatever, but like I'm trying to play a lot off on the music here, because like I said, it's very like beat heavy, very, I don't know, I just want to showcase it, I guess, and it's like a fun bit of polish.
Yeah, anytime a game can do that where they, that I think there was a game like Move or Die. They did something similar where like every little decoration element in the game would pulse in accordance to the background music. So that's always a great touch.
Yeah, exactly. And then if you want to go into versus after you beat this level, I guess. I don't know if they're in this build, but I'm curious to see. There's 4 playable characters right now. And I'll leave it there. I don't know. There might only be 2 in this demo though, because usually for demos I turn off 2 of the characters, and I'll explain why if they're not there or if they're there either way.
Sure.
I feel like based on some of the things you said, you may appreciate them or may not. I don't know. We'll see.
We will see. I mean, you've already alluded to the fact that they are like anime references, so I'm assuming they are characters from an MMO.
Sort of, not really, but yeah, sort of, but not really. Let's see if they're in there. I hope they are.
Okay, so
they are. Okay.
So character.
Do you?
And then I've got arena. No,
this might be a bit of a deep cut. Okay. So those are the Game Gairu, the Game Grumps' gender-swapped anime characters, and they're like an official thing. Like they're like actually like.
And yeah, I get it now.
And
wait,
I did it for fun.
They're swapped.
What's that?
No, I'm picking my own character, and the AI is on the second character. That's why it's confusing here.
Yeah, so I made it just so that when like it dynamically switches to be kind of like your counter opponent or whatever, when you're playing AI. So, fun fact, I made these characters for fun because I actually really like the Game Gairu designs.
Yeah.
And I said F it one time, and I found Aaron's emails on some Reddit thread, emailed him on a Sunday. He responded like 15 minutes later with like, man, like these look really great. Like send me a build of the game. Yeah, you go ahead, use the Game Gairu in your game. And I'm like, oh my god, oh thank you, here's the build, here's this. Ghosted forever. So I don't know what to do with that. Technically the last thing I heard was that I'm allowed to use the Game Gairu.
Yeah.
Like, so I don't know, I have the okay. It just feels really weird being ghosted and then still using them. I don't know, man. They're made though, so like I don't know what to do with that.
You know
No,
what? You can.
So,
Yeah, I know you're reacting to Escapator's comments, but go ahead.
yeah. So real quick, just to say, like, it's tough being ghosted. It sucked a lot. But the thing is, like, here's the thing: I get people reaching out to me that I don't have time to deal with. And to be fair, if I say I'm going to do something and then like don't, like that kind of sucks, I guess. But you got to remember, man. Like these guys are like they live crazy lives. They have mega projects. Like he's literally said on stream, like on his Game Grumps, were like, "Oh man, I've like ghosted people." Like I'm not saying he's talking about me specifically, but it's like yeah, man. Sometimes I just lose the thread and just like life moves on, and like you know, if it's not in a calendar or not somewhere, like it's easy to forget an email, right?
Yeah.
So like I can't fault him too much, especially with all they do. The fact that he responded with like I'll always have that email of him being like, "Oh man, this looks awesome. You can use them." Responded in like 5-20 minutes, whatever it was. That's super awesome. So I'm happy just to have that.
Also, I just wanted to really quick say, but Tim Charles, thank you so much for the follow. I guess for anyone else watching, I'm assuming most of the viewers we have here are from your channel, with a few regulars from mine. But I just wanted to say that if anyone else is in entry that we're doing tonight, we're going to be appearing on your stream tomorrow. And
Yes.
You'll be trying out Worlds Within Worlds. Again, I can send you a special itch.io page build for that because you can try out
Cool.
all 5 of the worlds, not as opposed to the 3 that are publicly available. But you know, as much as I want to keep the interview streams going, they aren't all going to be like this. They aren't all going to be like multi-hour affairs. Typically, when it is just like a game jam project, it's no more than 20 minutes, and I'm asking more specific questions. But this is as much feedback and like in depth. Like there's a lot more to this game because it isn't just a game jam project. So there's a lot more to evaluate.
It's funny. I was expecting more interview, but I'm equally happy with like the approach it is of like, because like this is the type of feedback that's good, right? It's like it's good. It's good to hear these perspectives. So I super appreciate it.
Yeah, and that's sort of what I figured. Is like I think it's just going to be best to sort of take things in this direction. Also, and then yeah, I also want to sort of lean into the Game Grumps email thing. Like, first of all, if it really if it is a concern at all, I'm sure they'll have like Game Grumps Inc. as somebody that you can reach out to for licensing official permission. You don't have to talk to Aaron specifically.
True. Good point, actually. Good point.
And they will make it a priority because it is like some sort of legal matter or whatever to like actually give you the official sign off on things. And then secondly, yeah, like I think the average person, like, think about how many like tweets, emails, like how many different social media things we're bombarded with. Not me, because I don't engage with those things. But I understand that the average person has like so much, messaging bombardment in their lives. Just think about how much more there is, how flooded the inboxes of these people are when other people are constantly reaching out to them for like, here's some here's an important business decision, here's like so on and so on and so on. So I think that there's room to be given like benefit of the doubt in this particular situation, but I can't comment on the Grumps as people. It's just that I'm entirely willing to allow for that at the possibility. I don't think it ever helps to take that sort of thing personally. And it's like
exactly. It's one of those things where like it's gonna suck, it's gonna hurt, but like it happens, and that's life, and like it's not malicious. I almost guarantee you it's not malicious. I almost guarantee you it's not like, oh, this game, this sucks, like let's never talk to that guy. Like they're busy dudes. Like
it just got buried in the pile.
And I solicited, right? I emailed like an email address I found on the internet. I had technically no right to do that, so like it's fair enough.
Yeah.
They owe me nothing. Even that response is more than they gave me, is more than they owed, and they didn't owe me anything after that. So
yeah.